The people are both the masters of both the Congress and the courts. Not to overthrow the Constitution, but to overthrow the men who would pervert it. Where the people fear the government, you have tyranny. And where the government fears the people, you have liberty. Well, thank you for tuning in. My name is Daniel Hapney, and this is The Real Story. Tonight I've got a kind of a mixed bag of stuff to go over. I want to go over some quotes, things that I'd like to burn into your brain cells that hopefully, you know, already reside there. It's just maybe I'll be reawakening them because you're an American out there. And maybe a few people in the world, you know, what it's like to be an American, at least think like one. I'll quote some what I consider famous or, you know, well-spoken Americans. Also what I have for you is some news, what's been going on, maybe going over a little bit of this new administration thing because, you know, they're going to be administering some pain, I think. The other thing I want to do is I want to go over, I covered briefly in another episode, the thought of dual citizens and how we being the United States, have decided to have dual citizens in what we consider the halls of power, like behind the scenes, controlling the levers, you know, what's going on in our country. And you say to yourself, well, where do their loyalties lie? They didn't renounce their previous citizenship. We're going to keep this dual citizen thing. And especially the positions they're in and what their previous lives or previous citizenships were when they're in their, let's say, home countries. So tonight, once again, this is The Real Story. Thank you for tuning in. We're going to start off with some thoughts, okay? And part of the thoughts is going to be, you know, news thoughts. I heard something I thought was pretty interesting, and I actually read it in the Los Angeles Times. And I want to say, if you look at the January 20th of issue of the Times, what I had was, this I thought was interesting. This is by Ralph Verbedian and also Peter Ree. But as the story goes, it was a use of the Patriot Act. Now, you probably remember after 9/11, you know, the lie they sold us, that they passed this bill through real fast called the Patriot Act. And it was supposed to be to get Al-Qaeda, right? You know, we're going to get all those terrorists. Because as George, the guy who always told you the truth, says, terrorists. Here's what we had. Tamara Jo Freeman was on a Frontier's airline flight from Denver. And this is back in 2007. But what happened when her two children started becoming unruly, they were fighting over the window. You know, you got a window shade on the plane. Hey, I want to look outside. Hey, will you close it? It's too bright. Well, this Tamara Jo, anyway, after the kids were getting kind of noisy, you know, instructed them to, you know, I believe, close the window and ended up, you know, reprimanding them by slapping them on their thigh. In which case, you know, knocking the tray table or whatever, reaching over, she had spilled her drink. Well, needless to say, the flight attendant came over and they had words, and they weren't probably happy choice words. But the interesting thing is this, that when she went to deplane, she was met by law enforcement. And what was real interesting was that the incident aboard the Frontier flight ultimately led to Freeman's arrest and conviction. You get this? You're going to like this. For a federal felony defined as an act of terrorism under the Patriot Act. And you say, wait a minute, they passed that Patriot Act for terrorists. Now, she wasn't trying to take over the plane. She didn't have a box cutter, you know, as we all were told those lies. But the interesting thing was, you know, wow, here's a gal 40 years old. I got to ask you, after she's arrested, who's taking care of her kids? And was the Patriot Act passed so that we could what? Arrest people at the bottom of the flight because they got in an altercation, whether it's with, you know, their own children in this case or a stewardess or something? What's changed? And what the LA Times goes on to report is this is not the first time. Evidently, they've found at least 200 people who've, you know, on flights who've been convicted under the amended law. And in most cases, there was no evidence that the passengers, once again, attempted to hijack the airplane or physically attack any of the flight crew. Many have simply been involved with raised voices, foul language, and sometimes drunken behavior. But now, you got to remember, that Patriot Act, then the one that was brought before Congress, where no one got any time to read it. 20 minutes? Can you read 800 pages? So, yeah, this police state thing, this is the application of laws that nobody really paid attention to. But a little bit of news, you know, because the LA Times decided they'd tell us that as news. The other things I have for you, I thought that was interesting because, once again, it shows that, you know, when we passed all these laws, maybe we didn't pay attention, but our freedoms and our liberties are at stake here. We'll go over that tonight with you. So anyway, the other thing I have for you, the dual citizens in government. You know, I kind of relayed to you audience viewers that people like Michael Chertoff, who heads up Homeland Security. He's a dual citizen. So you got to ask yourself, the guy you've got watching your homeland for security, okay, he's not even an American. Okay, he's a dual citizen. Does his loyalty lie with the United States of America or maybe the other country that he's a citizen of? Now you say to him, is he alone? Well, it turns out he's not. We have Michael Mukasey, the Attorney General, dual citizen. How about that guy with the UN, Bolton? Should I tell you about Kissinger? You know, do you want to learn all your dual citizens? How about Wolfowitz? Remember that guy? Yeah, defense guy. We've got some interesting stuff going on with the dual citizens. And what I wanted to bring to you, what I thought was very interesting about dual citizens, how do you like this? Now, we just mentioned there's a place called Homeland Security. And reminds me a lot of Germany with the Vaterland. You know, now we get the Homeland Security. And what I thought was interesting is we've actually hired a former KGB. Now, KGB, for you Sharon viewers who are in the audience, who came from Russia, please come on my show. Please let the Sharon and other Sharon viewers realize or understand what the KGB was involved in. And were they a good thing over there in Russia? So anyway, who do we have? We have General Yevgeny Primakov. Now you say, this Primakov guy, why would we have a director of the KGB? Isn't that the secret police? So we have Soviet secret police getting paid by Homeland Security, $4 million of your dollars. So when you want to bail somebody out, that's $4 million you don't get to spend. What are we doing with this? We're bringing a former KGB person in to make sure America's secure? Does that sound right to you? Would that be like hiring a Nazi? But it gets better. We also have, he's not alone, you know, in the dual citizen thought, we also have Markus Wolf. Have you ever heard of Markus Wolf? Well, Markus Wolf is an interesting guy because he's ex-East German Stasi. Now, if we have any, you know, people from Germany in the audience, maybe they'd like to come on the show and tell all the other viewers what the secret police in East Germany was like. And why this guy is important is because Wolf is the man that effectively built the East German, you know, intelligence operations internal directorate. Now you say, gee, the internal directorate, what did they do? Well, he turned half the population into informants on the other half of the population. Yeah. That's the kind of guy we want in Homeland Security. Foreigners who did what? Helped create police states. And, gee, once again, do we have any East German, ex-East Germans in the audience who'd like to come on and tell people why secret police is not good? Why having secret police is not good? And following the ones from, once again, the East German Stasi, let alone the KGB? Do you want these KGB people, you know, determining what your children's future is going to be like? Yeah, think about their background. And also, once again, why all this was brought to us by the lies of 9/11. The things that didn't hold up scientifically, the things that didn't make sense. How a guy in a cave could make NORAD, North American Radar Air Defense, stand down. Yeah, that didn't make sense, did it? But anyway, you know, it's kind of interesting. We also have another KGB guy, you know, on board and stuff. Oleg Klaguin. He's retired KGB, so that's better than just, you know, current KGB, okay? But he also has a consulting job, a consulting gig. He's also getting your money. Yeah. So dual citizens in our country, and of all places, in what's now forming as the Spy on You group, right? Because Homeland Security, you may be Al-Qaeda. We have to keep an eye on you. Remember the warrantless wiretapping? Yeah, I wonder who thought of that one, huh? Now, it's funny because at this point of the thing, at this point of the show, I was gonna throw out a thought, and that is, what do we stand for? And what do we want to stand for? You know, do we stand for secrets, you know, spying, secret prisons, torture, and all that? And if we allow people to sell us the thought that torturing people is good, I thought this was the country where you were innocent until you were proven guilty. But when it came to Guantanamo or any other place, you know, all of a sudden those rules changed. Huh? They were guilty, and they had to prove their innocence from inside a cage. Yeah, who's been doing the thinking and running the show around here? Once again, we have dual citizens. How about Rahm Emanuel? That's right, for all you Obama lovers, we have this new guy. Rahm Emanuel is going to be the chief of staff of the White House. Now, he evidently was a captain in a foreign army.